Okay, so this is a problem from chapter 9. This is the only problem from chapter 9. And we're going to work through problem 953A. It's a bonds payable problem. It will be a discounted bonds payable. So we're paying out interest. The stated rate is going to be lower than the market interest rate on the date of issuance. Where this information is coming from is slightly confusing. You have to kind of search through it. So I recommend reading the entire problem first and kind of identifying where the information is coming from first. So the notes to Thornton Limited financial statements reported the following data on December 31st, year one, end of the fiscal year. Note 6, indebtedness. So debt. Bonds payable 1%, due on December 31st of year 8, 3.5 million. So we're going to go through and label all of this information as we go. The 3.5 million is what?
Face value.
Face value, correct. So face value, bonds issued. That's what we're going to have to pay back at the end of year 8. 1%
Is the stated rate.
the stated rate. So the stated interest rate. So these bonds will be paying 1% interest each year over the life of the bonds. Year 8 is the term. So the term of the bonds is 8 years. So the bonds mature in 8 years. They gave you a discount, right? But they don't tell us what the amount is. So we don't know what the bond carrying value is at this point in time at the end of year 1. Then they give you notes payable. You can ignore that because they're just giving you the footnote for footnote 6, which is the debt footnote. So bonds and notes are both debt. That's why it's included. But for right now, for our purposes, we don't need it. Thorson amortizes bond discounts using the effective interest method, which is what I've been teaching you all along, and pays all interest amounts at December 31st. What does this mean? How often is this bond paying interest?
Once a year.
Once a year. So that's going to affect a lot of our calculations. It's going to affect our initial discount calculation. It's going to affect interest payment, the interest paid. It's going to affect the interest expense because we're not going to be multiplying those calculations by 1/2. We're going to have it just as the interest rates that they gave us. So when you're paying semi-annually, it impacts the present value or the discounting factor. So everything is impacted by that. So in this particular case, it's not bonds that pay semi-annual interest, it's bonds that pay out annually. And if you made a mistake in your homework, it's probably related to that. Because if they're paying semi-annually, it's going to have a different calculation than if they're paying annually. Assume the market interest rate is 6% on January 1st of year 1, the date the bonds are issued. What is that 1%? I'm sorry, that's 6% rather.
Market rate, market interest rate.
Yeah. Which is what we're using for calculating interest expense. Using the present value function in Excel, what is the issue price of the bonds? So we have enough information to calculate this. So we're going to go in Excel right now. Give me a second. Okay. So I just plugged in a date because I like having dates. So the issue date was January 1st of 2020. Just going to zero this out. January 1st of 2020 is the issue date. The face value of the bonds issued was 3.5. The stated rate was 1% annually. Market interest rate was 6%. The term of the bonds is 8 years. How did I come up with the number of payments being 8? Why is it 8 and not 16?
Were we supposed to be seeing your screen when you were
You
plugging?
can't. Yes, you can't see it.
Yeah, no, nothing was popping up. At least on my screen, I didn't know what we were.
Okay, thank you.
It's because it says you pay once annually.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to actually go back one thing. Stop. Let me